PodCRASH is going to a theme park.
Because there's a website called Flash Mountain, it's just those kind of pictures.
I was hoping that you would mention Flash Mountain.
There's a German Batman Returns ride.
It feels pretty good to get splashed.
It's an inverted coaster for coaster nerds out there.
So that's where the G-forces really hit.
You could be a little nauseated.
You never know what's going to get wet on the ride.
Welcome to the show, folks. This is PodCRASH. I am that Chris Gore, and this is the podcast where you get to listen to me as a guest on other podcasts. It's a great way to discover all kinds of new podcasts. Today we're crashing Season Pass, which Season Pass is a podcast about theme parks, and we recorded it at Knott's Berry Farm. You'll learn everything about theme parks, sort of secrets and whatnot, what are the fun ones, how you can get discounts, and how to not throw up on a ride, which I almost did. A lot of great guests on that podcast, too, and we'll be getting to that later. First, a bunch of things that I want to talk about. Been getting some great cards and letters from you guys and gifts. Jeff Shaw sent me a U.S. pin from his Air Force days, which is great. He says, hey, I'm sure you got a cool military-style jacket. I do, Jeff, and thank you for that pin. I wear it proudly on my green military jacket that has Yoda on it as well. Also got a nice thank you postcard from Annie, who just wanted to thank me. Basically, she said she doesn't need another DVD. You know, if you listen to the end of this show, you realize that you can win free stuff, including DVDs. So thank you, Annie, Jeff, and other people who've sent things in. Really appreciate all of your support and free stuff, too. A couple things to get to. This weekend, I'm sure that you were, like me, horrified and shocked at the shootings at this movie theater in Colorado. After I saw what happened, it's one of those things the news cycle just has. They've got like maybe, they've got sort of the basic facts, and then everything is speculation and rousing up fear. And this happens every time there's some madman who does this, and they want to somehow ascribe it's video games, it's movies, it's this thing. They would never blame religion, but the point is that insane people like this, I think if you're going to do that, you're absolutely insane. There's no insanity defense. You go and you murder a bunch of people in that way, you are insane. But I feel that just that person is just something that's a mental case in search of a trigger. It could be the Bible. It could be Starburst fruit chews. It could be a movie. It doesn't matter. I feel like there's no explanation. There's no reason. There's no rhyme or reason for that kind of insanity. But it just really, really depressed and affected me in a way where no TV, no internet. I had to just walk away. And of course, in light of, a film that I've been looking forward to for such a long time, just to put a damper on that whole weekend. So I don't know. When I see stuff like that, I just feel helpless. I feel horrified. I feel for the victims, and I feel, fuck that guy. I hope he gets what's coming to him. And I hope we never hear about that guy again until the sentence is brought down and we can all cheer collectively. So yeah, I don't know how that kind of stuff affects you, but I see something like that in the news. I used to be glued to the TV set. Now I walk away because there's nothing I can do. Random horrible acts of violence happen, and to try to put some type of spin, to try to explain it, or try to point fingers of blame, just serves to further stir up fear, and it's not a real positive thing. So The Dark Knight Rises opened, and I saw the film, and a lot of you have asked my opinion on Twitter. I've remained pretty quiet about it. So I am going to tell you what I think, and I will probably delve into spoilers. So for the next 5 minutes or so, if you want to fast forward and you haven't seen the movie yet, fast forward. I understand it's cool, but I will be talking about the film. Feel free to do that now. I'm going to talk for about 5 minutes about The Dark Knight Rises, tell you what I think. Okay. So I saw it. Actually, what's funny is I bought tickets, and then I actually won tickets from that Mountain Dew promotion. And the theater was fairly empty too, which was kind of bizarre. It was maybe like a theater with like 50 people, and I don't know, maybe, did anyone know it was that easy to win those tickets? Anyways, so went and saw the film and I avoided all spoilers. I was just avoiding the internet for a time before I saw the film. And a lot of friends had already seen the movie. I want to see it clean. I want to see it. So here's my opinion about it is there's two camps, people who love it, people who don't. I'll tell you what camp I'm in. I'm kind of in the middle because I will tell you this. It's not a bad movie. It is kind of a beautiful mess. I think the music is unbelievable. It looks great, stunt work, all that stuff. It's the story where it breaks down. I think it was Harry Knowles in his review on Ain't It Cool News said that he just didn't believe that Batman would have hung up the cape after what happened in the events in The Dark Knight. It's just a guy that driven is not going to do that. Harry, I think you're dead on. I really didn't believe that Christian Bale, I didn't believe his interpretation of Bruce Wayne at the beginning of the film. It's a mess in the sense that it's just juggling too many ideas. It's not so much the characters as the ideas. You've got Bane and his motivation. I'm glad they fixed the voice, but I'm not sure it mattered at all what he said. I still don't understand what his whole plan was. In fact, somebody's got to make some comedic video. When he goes to the stadium and blows up the stadium, the Gotham Rogues stadium, and he comes out and talks about, I've got the bomb and this, and he shoots the guy who can defuse the bomb, and he looks to the crowd and says, take back your city. If I were there, and first of all, I saw like the huge explosion in the middle. First of all, I'd probably be drunk at a football game. I'd think, oh my God, that's awesome. It's part of the show. Take back our city? What are we supposed to do? What did that guy in the gas mask say we were supposed to do? We were just tailgating. Should we just get back to our cars? Like, you got an entire stadium filled with people. I felt the message was confusing. If he was going to hold the place hostage, I get that. You're trying to give some message to them to take that doesn't make any sense to me. The motivations of the characters completely off. And then why after breaking Batman's back, he flies him all the way. Did they have flights just in and out of Gotham then? So then Bane was there at the prison and then flies right back. Completely unnecessary. It's just juggling so many different things. Now we're getting to spoiler territory here with John Blake's character, which I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt was amazing. In fact, every review, they always mention, even people who say they didn't like the movie, that John Blake character was great. Except I didn't go to see a John Blake movie. I went to see a Batman movie. John Blake is not Batman. I don't give a shit about him. He's a beat cop who's cool. He's the heart of the movie. I don't care. I went to see a movie called Look, it would be like this. If they made a James Bond movie and James Bond had some guy running around and we followed the assistants. No, you make a James Bond movie. James Bond is in most of the thing. Little cutaways to the villains and other stuff happening. But mainly, James Bond is in 80% of the movie, 80, 90% of the movie. There wasn't enough Batman in this Batman movie. And if they were going to pay off John Blake like they did with the sort of line at the end, that sort of throwaway line, they should have had something. See, this is the thing. I look at movies. I'm not just, yes, reviewing. At the same time, I think, here's how it could be made better. I think this comes from just like when I work on my own writing projects. I think, what's the better twist? They should have had John Blake maybe had a brother who was or maybe his dad was the coach of the Gotham Rogues. They were all killed in that. And he wore a Gotham Rogues hoodie as a tribute to his brother, right? With the big R on it. The R is actually the same R as Robin from the comics. So he could have worn this hoodie. Batman comes in and says, if you're going to work alone, you should wear a mask. Then maybe he puts on a mask that he's Robin. That would have been kind of cool. It would have been a logical explanation instead of the sort of clown outfit he has. I can't imagine in the Chris Nolan universe, a Batman saying to his new ward / sidekick, we're going to get you an outfit that's just like mine with all this Kevlar stuff and all that. We'll just make your costume more colorful. I'll do a little orange and green. How about a yellow cape? That'll go well. You don't need the full helmet thing. Don't worry about it. Just face mask. That's all you need. Just keep the hair loose. No, it makes no sense. It's no logic in the Chris Nolan universe. But what I feel is that he actually betrayed his own tone. That's where the film just goes off the rails for me, is that the tone of the movie it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then, being reverent to the death of Heath Ledger, he wanted to not have the Joker character. Now, obviously, Joker's not even mentioned. Even all the events, Joker's not mentioned at all. You would think that they're breaking all these guys out of this prison, that the real Joker would have been among them. It would have been better, rather than seeing Scarecrow on that kangaroo court, might have been better to see the Joker. I don't know. That would have been kind of cool. It certainly would have made sense with his character. Throw in a little, you know what? Look, it has happened in movies. I mean, in Gladiator, with Russell Crowe, who was that? There was a guy, Oliver. Yeah. Okay. I forget the actor's name. This is what happens sometimes to me, without, whatever. One of the characters died, and they just sort of cut around him and digitally. Yeah, I'm going to look that up in the next segment. I'll mention who that is. But, it's happened. It's horrible. But I think to serve the story, the Joker is such a huge part of the Batman world. He needed to be in there somehow. Bane perhaps could have been a catalyst for breaking all of Batman's arch nemesis out of prison, which would have been a better plot line. And I don't know. Look, this is me talking. Chris Nolan's made some amazing, incredible films. This is not a disaster, but it's not, it's not really, it doesn't fit with the other two movies. That's, I think, what I think is the most disappointing and disheartening part about The Dark Knight Rises. It doesn't seem to fit it. It goes off the rails in logic. It's much more cartoony and comic booky. It's even more jokey with like sort of weird humor thrown in that wasn't in the two previous films. I mean, Batman he's not a jokester. Spider-Man, jokester. Batman, no, he's a serious guy. So I also found the logic of, you don't kiss Catwoman when Batman would never do that. Look, he doesn't care. He's on task, on mission. After being, the Bane's dismissal is, here's the dumb thing about Bane. Not only does Batman in his detective skills are completely off, where I don't care where Bane came from. We get a Bane backstory via Bruce Wayne's POV that ends up being wrong. Then we see it corrected. And also, I don't care. It's at the very end of the movie. What difference does that reveal make? We've got to stay on task with what needs to happen, which is this bomb needs to go away. Also, who sets a bomb to go off for 5 months? I tweeted that, once villains invent timerless bombs, superheroes are fucked, which just made no sense. Just enough time, 5 months, for him to heal his back and get out of that thing. And the dumb thing, then he gets to the top of the thing. Bruce Wayne climbs to the top of that prison thing. I'm bouncing all around. I don't care. These are all things that I want to make sure to get in. There's a rope at the top. Why did some kids? It's not guarded. They could have bribed some kids to throw that rope down and climbed all out of there. Where does he get a flight? He's got no ID, no money, and he's got no money because the Wayne Enterprises is bankrupt now, and Gotham's being held hostage, which I think would never happen. If that happened to a U.S. city, it would never go down that way. I don't believe that a U.S. city would be held hostage for 5 months with a nuclear bomb. Just makes no sense. I believe in our guys who took out Osama bin Laden. They can do that. They can take out Bane. So we don't need. It doesn't matter to get Bane's backstory. We get his wrong backstory, then we get the corrected backstory, and there's some reveal which is just out of to me that's cheap writing. With it and I'm the villain. Let me tell you my plan. Look, every villain's got to stop for a second and tell you exactly why they did what they were, what the crux of their plan was. Who cares? But to me, when Batman kissed Catwoman on the way out, no, it's minutes left. Minutes. It made no sense. Now, had he jumped in to the bat and you get they lock eyes for a second. She knows what's about to happen. He's going off to his death. Much, much more romantic. It's better. Plus no kiss. Nolan's not really known for romance in his movies, so I'm surprised he put that in there. The other thing is this. Look, when did he eject out of that thing? I'm giving tons of stuff away. I don't care. When did he eject out of that thing? And secondly, even if the blast went off miles away from Gotham, there's a radioactive cloud. Everyone is dead from cancer. When that cloud makes its way back to the city, everyone's going to get cancer and be dead. So I felt it was, while it was a clever ending and I think an ambitious, you're juggling so many ideas. You've got the threat of terrorism. You've got Batman dealing with his past. You've got orphans. You've got the John Blake character, which is the throwaway. If you're not going to use it, don't do it. It's a weird, I didn't mind him. Okay. It's cool. Let's get Robin in the Nolan version of the Batman universe, but it's just the way he did it as a tack on to the end was cheap, I thought. I think there was a better way to have done it by connecting into the events. The Gotham Rogues become, anyways, whatever. Look, they didn't hire me to be a script doctor on it, but maybe I should start pursuing that path because I swear, every time I see a movie, I think of 15 ways for it to be better. Usually it involves cutting out 20 minutes, but in the case of Dark Knight Rises, the main flaw in the film is the tone. The tone doesn't match the two previous films, and Batman's not in it enough, and there you go. I'm also going to go see it like 3 more times. So that is yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, look. All right, done with Dark Knight Rises for now. I'll be going to see it again. And I do recommend, there's this great free app that you can get there's a couple, 2 free Dark Knight Rises apps for the iPhone. I mean, there's probably for other stuff too, but there's one that is this really cool one with a soundtrack where you walk around and it brings in sounds. It's good when you're working out. If you're I find working out boring, so I have to listen to something interesting. It's a Dark Knight Rises soundtrack app. It's free. Highly recommend it. All right. So before we get to the crash this week, some plugs. I'm doing Glory Stories with Justine Jolie this Friday, July 27th, 11 p.m. at IO West, 6366 Hollywood Boulevard. Tickets available at ioimprov.com/west. Also be doing the Keith and the Girl podcast Saturday, August 11th at 7 p.m. at Meltdown Comics on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. Go to keithandthegirl.com. You can get info on that. And then also live shows, now monthly live shows at IO West in Hollywood, doing PodCRASH on Saturday, August 18th, 7:30. That's IO West. Tickets available, ioimprov.com/west. I got another thing. Before we get to the podcast, one other thing. This podcast has been a work in progress, okay? Changing things every time. We're kind of improving things. For those longtime listeners that have been here from the beginning, the show evolves. It's evolved and changed. And I listened to last week's show. I just usually listen just for audio quality purposes. I get bored. I get sick of myself. You should be sick of me at this. Please don't be sick of me, actually. Keep listening. And I felt I dominated the Who Charted podcast. And I don't know what it was. I was nervous. I was hopped up on something. I think I had a soda. And I dominated the whole thing and really didn't get you really didn't get to hear a lot of, Kulap and Howard talk on Who Charted. I feel like I sort of took it over. I think I wasn't really proud of myself on that. I feel like I dropped the ball a lot on that particular podcast, and I need to learn to shut up is what I'm saying. This could actually apply to other areas of my life too, but especially on podcasts, I feel it's incumbent upon me to not only, it's like, okay, you get to hear some of the highlights of me on a podcast, but at the same time, you should get to hear some highlights of that podcast. So you're going to hear in future episodes that will kind of be shifting, where you'll get a taste of the podcast. I'm there, but it's not going to all be about me. I know that sounds weird, but for me to say, because it wouldn't be much of a stretch to call me something of a narcissist. So, because I'm the guest on all these podcasts, but I feel like it's my duty to give you a little taste of the podcast that is featured on this particular episode, which you will get with Season Pass. The other thing is, I mispronounce Kulap's last name, which is Kulap Vilaysack. Kulap Vilaysack. Why can Kulap Vilaysack? It's on her Tumblr. She has a Tumblr. It's just Kulap, Kulap. Look it up on Tumblr. It's a great Tumblr. And I mispronounced her name. I don't know. I feel that it just irritates me because in audio or video, you can't take it back. If it's on the web, I could go in and do a little quick fix. But you're not really pronouncing. That would bug me when I was doing the Film Threat website. If I ever saw misspelling or something, I would go in and I would correct articles. I can't do that with my podcast. I really sound neurotic now, don't I? A little bit. It's just, yeah. Hey, I've been going through some stuff. So we're not going to talk about that. Not this week. I'm saving that one up. But okay, let's talk about Season Pass. You ready? Okay, a little longish, but I like talking to you. I like telling you what's going on, and there's a lot. So this week's Season Pass. This podcast is amazing. It's been around for almost 5 years. It's incredible, and these guys, they travel to different theme parks. They'll ride rides. They talk to the designers of rides. It really is like a geek fest. The one episode I listened to, they talked about the brand new Star Tours and how they had to come up with all this, the story material for. I did not realize how much effort it's not like making a movie. It's like making 5 movies in terms of the production, in terms of putting together an amazing ride experience. They think about like the line, sort of the line, the entertainment that takes place while you're waiting in line. There's so many subtleties to this. It's just incredibly fascinating. Just as a geek who likes to explore stuff I don't know about, which is a lot. Listening to their podcast before appearing on it was a total joy. So the show's hosted by Doug Barnes. He had this buddy of his, Robert Coker. Russ Nibbs joined us on the first section of the podcast. He's the guy, he's in charge of food. Then Jennifer Blazes, she's the Knott's PR. And a buddy of mine, I brought a buddy of mine there because I thought I'm going to a theme park. I'll bring my friend, John Barato. And John Barato's, he's been an animator on The Simpsons. He's an artist that I've worked with for years, and just a friend, and I thought, well, come to this with me, and maybe you can just do do some drawings of them as Simpsons characters. That'll be fun. And then I became total buds with this guy Jeff Tucker, who is just a super awesome dude. We just connected. His sons are total geeks. He used to read Film Threat. He had a copy of Red on DVD, which was bizarre. He gave me a copy of his book, which was incredible. And then it just like, I don't know, we're just like geeks of it was weird. Like after the podcast was over, we could not stop talking, and we were going on rides. We couldn't stop talking. It was great. It was like, I felt like with Jeff, I was on a mandate. But Doug was incredible with this thing. When we recorded it like on top of this ride that was just shut down for the season. So they set up a table up there, and we just sat down, and they immediately brought us food, and we dug in and ate it. So here it is, clips and plenty more from Season Pass. Let's ride. Oh my God, I've been quiet this whole time, but Russ, I just need to know, I've been attacking these ribs. Are you single? These ribs are so amazing. Oh my God. I want to marry you and these ribs.
Well, the ribs are...
They're available, but
I can't tell you. I'm so amazing.
He is. He's literally just... I don't want to explain the visuals with the ribs and Chris right now, but he's loving them.
Well, they're marinated, minimum 10 hours, and we cook them at 180 Fahrenheit, and they just fall off the bone. They're incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So what was your purpose when you came here? When you came into Knott's, did you already see a great food program, or were you like, I have to just change this?
Well, it wasn't broken, but there's always opportunity. So I've seen a lot of opportunity to take it to the next level, and we always say in our business that there's never, once you see the finish line, you never cross it because it's never over. Mm-hmm. Our business, there's the trends. You're always following the trends, and every day's different. Every hour's different in the food and beverage. So you're saying what's new out there? What can we design? What can we create? What's selling? What's bringing the guests back? It's great. I wake up every day with the jazz. I love it.
Yeah.
And throughout the day there's peaks and valleys, but at the end, I don't ride roller coasters, but in food and beverage there's peaks and valleys. So I'm on a roller coaster all day, and it's exciting for sure.
You're like a food Imagineer.
Oh, there you go. Excellent. Yeah. It seems like it's a kind of a stressful position, though, at the same time, to have to operate so much. Yeah, it's such a large scale of sending out food to just millions of people throughout a year. It seems like it has to be pretty hard to keep that up.
People say that, how do you handle the stress? I say, no, I don't believe in the word stress.
Oh, yeah?
I think if you love what you do, there's a lot of professions that we have, and this one I enjoyed. So I don't think there's a day where I've been stressful, to be honest with you.
Oh, my God.
I get jazzed
You're
up.
Perfect.
I get
just
jazzed.
In the perfect position.
There's some days you go, wow, what's going on, or hours, but at the end of the day, it's a jazz, it's a feeling. You look at the guests, and being in California, whenever you feel a little bit, you go outside, the weather just cheers you up.
That's it. After being at Canada's Wonderland for...
Yeah, I forgot what clouds look like now. I got to phone back home and see what the cloud looks like.
So, I do think it's great because this park has such a legacy of great food.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That's why we're here.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here otherwise.
If it wasn't chicken dinners, man, we wouldn't be here. So to see, a renewed emphasis on great food is always a pleasure. That's
well, and was that something exciting for you? A place that basically birthed from a restaurant to be able to come here and experience the culture that started by fried chicken.
Sure, 1934. I think this is the only theme park that we say started with a restaurant, with
food
and
first.
beverage.
Yeah,
food first, and then we're just I'm just a caretaker. I'm just carrying on what everyone else has done since 34. And trying to make it better, trying to add new trends to it. coasters. We have a burger there that I would say it's the best in Orange County.
Oh, really?
It's unbelievable, and it's.
Where's that located on the tour? Get that burger.
Yeah, and our funnel cakes are still the same. I mean, they're great funnel cakes. I mean, and we're always adding a little twist to that. And we have you're going to be trying it pretty soon. It's called a Cookie Witch, which is we make our cookies here.
I saw your tweet of that. Yeah. I've been dying to get a hold of one of those.
That picture exploded
we'll have one
on
soon,
the internet.
And
that's at the everybody will eat theirs. I'll eat mine right after the podcast. I'll be devouring it. You don't want to hear it while I'm on the mic.
And it's all about, I would say, the taste buds. I mean, we're all consumers. We all love to eat. We all love beverages. And whenever you can satisfy someone's needs and become a destination for that, like I'm hoping people come in here to Knott for the ribs, for the flank steaks, for the burgers. We have a chicken kebab sandwich. It's just, it's unbelievable. And I'll get you some of those too. It's I don't know. I'm being honest. People, I get excited. I mean, I wake up every morning, and when I put my head on the pillow at night, I think about what's the next day going to be like, and what can we do?
This is why you would make a great husband.
There you are.
I think also people think when they go to a theme park, we're going to have a fun day with my family, we're going to ride, see shows. But, foods, we're going to have to settle for what we can get.
Let's get a corn dog.
We're going to just have to settle what's there. And we don't want to ever be that. I mean, that's going to be part of the reason you're going to actually come, not feel like you're settling for something.
Exactly. And Jeff mentioned corn dog. You know what? We have the best corn dogs around here. They're hand-dipped, to order, and it's just amazing. It's a recipe that we just don't, it's not out of a bag, mix it up, and there you go. We spend time and energy on all the recipes that we do throughout the park. We still got the cotton candies. We still got a lot of sugar for you. There's no question there. And we still have, we have healthy food too. We have a lot of, flank steaks are healthy too, but we have a lot of, we have whole fruit, fresh fruit all diced up. We have salads. We have these amazing wraps, okay? There's vegetarian. We also have dietary items, gluten-free items like pizza. I mean, when you come to the park, you get pizza, but someone else has a dietary item with a gluten-free pizza. You can get it here.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's not just, it's everything across the scope.
So the way to a guest's heart is through their stomach. So that was actually the best food I've ever had at a theme park. I mostly associate theme park food with just like bad, greasy stuff, but it was incredible. So I think I would go to Knott's just for the food. If I could just get in just for that, that would be cool. But you just got to know, we're loading up on this food just before we're about to go on some rides. So, yeah, and they brought out dessert, so it just kept going. And by the way, Oliver Reed was the name I spaced on earlier, who tragically died during the making of Gladiator, yet they, finished his character's story. And it worked out in that respect. So, okay, back to Season Pass.
Also, Chris, I want to get into a little bit about movies becoming kind of a part of the theme park world, because it's been happening quite a bit lately.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Transformers ride in 3D. The newly upgraded Star Tours.
Yeah.
There's been the Back to the Future ride, the Simpsons ride. There's definitely that crossover between film, TV, and rides. We've seen it, and what's funny is a lot of these movies are like rides. I mean, there are certain sequences in Star Wars, the pod race sequence, the Death Star trench. I mean, those are rides in a way.
Absolutely.
George Lucas is obsessed with that, and especially the Michael Bay Transformers movies, rides. I think sometimes they kind of shoehorn, like the Back to the Future. I don't care. It was still a blast.
Yeah.
But when they, it seems like that was a little shoehorned. But I do love that. I mean, it's like, and there was the Terminator ride also.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that kind of crossover I love. But
there were also rides that we never even saw over here. Online, there's a German Batman Returns ride that's amazing. Because they had all the models that were built for that movie, they just ran a camera over them and made a ride out of it. So
it makes sense that the Germans would want to do that.
And also, Jeff, you have experience as well with taking a movie franchise and turning it into attractions, especially during haunts. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And those are walkthrough attractions, which are arguably harder because with a ride vehicle, you control what the audience sees by rotating the car. Yeah. Walkthrough, it's like it has to be completely immersive,
Yeah.
Even if the movie doesn't lend itself, Beowulf, to a walkthrough attraction.
Wow, but that's interesting because I understand that the marketing departments at the studios for these bigger films, they really do look at first what are the merchandising opportunities, and then what are the, are there theme park opportunities?
Oh, I think they do it in the script form. I think now we're at a point where they go, as we're making the movie, yes, we'll talk about the toys, but is there, especially if it's a Universal production or DreamWorks, is there a theme park viable franchise in here? Without a doubt.
And you can actually see that in some movies. Like you're watching, there's the ride sequence.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we all watch Phantom Menace and went, it's only a matter of time before that podcast is erased, only a matter of time.
Awesome. So, what do you think of the portable setup that we have here? We normally have like the big studio setup. We have a smaller setup so we can bring all this food on the table. Pretty cool.
Oh, I think this is great.
It's covered in barbecue sauce now, but it's still pretty cool.
It's a little dirty now.
I think I speak for everyone. The new setup is delicious.
It's delicious. And I think food should be a part of every podcast now.
I think we're all now, to paraphrase,
well, Russ, you are now in on every podcast. You don't even have a choice, man. You're not. You're just immediately
welcome to the fold.
Yeah, Jeff has been in it now forever. So
to paraphrase Chris Gore, we're all now Imagine-eaters.
Imagine-eaters.
I like that.
This is real.
Awesome. So we will be coming back to you in a little bit with some more experiences of Knott's Berry Farm. But once again, Russ Nibbs, Vice President of Food and Beverages, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an honor.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and thank you, Douglas.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Jennifer, thank you so much.
Hey, as always, it's fun.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
A lot of fun, actually.
And you know what, real quick, if I could say, because before Russ goes, as a guy who was here 5, 6, 7 days a week, let me, on behalf of the employees here at Knott's Berry Farm, thank you for all that you've done, because not only has Russ revitalized
Absolutely. Can we get applause going? I can. I got a cookie sandwich.
Not only is the in-park food like through the moon, but he did it for the employees as well. Revamped our employee cafeteria, new food offerings, new streamline. You only get 30 minutes to eat. And if there's a line, that's rough. There are 2 registers, more food, salad bar for those of us who are.
I got to say, that's one of my biggest complaints about Knott's in the past is the lines for food have always been just horrendous at times. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, so
it's all been. I appreciate Jeff. It's all been done with a team effort, though.
Inside and out, man. Your team is stellar, and we've all noticed. From the guests to the backstage people, we get it, and we're on board 100%.
Because happy, fed employees are good employees.
Absolutely.
Truly.
Yeah, we're always important. So I thank that. It's kind words. Thank you.
And Russ, I record a podcast every weekday at my house. It's funny, you'd think with the huge success of The Dark Knight and Batman that there'd be more Batman rides. I don't know why there aren't more Batman rides, but also I kind of feel like who cares? I feel like whenever they do a theme park ride based around a movie, it's always, in some cases it's organic. Like I feel like Star Tours is kind of like that's the gold standard of like it's a theme park ride centered around a movie that actually has a logic within the world of the movie. That I get. But it's kind of like when they try to do a Batman ride, it's just a roller coaster they're calling Batman. There's nothing Batman about it. And it kind of reminds me of like when I was a kid and they would make like, you go to the toy store and they would have a Spider-Man helicopter. Spider-Man he doesn't need a helicopter. He's got the web slingers. Spider-Man does not need a helicopter. It's a dumb thing they kind of just like, so when a ride is really, really well designed, it's designed around, especially a movie ride, it's designed kind of around the world of that movie. And there's some logic to it. I have not gone on the Transformers ride, but I hear it's actually better than the third Transformers movie. But I am actually, oddly enough, I'm going to the Batman Live show in September. I'm really looking forward to Batman Live. Maybe it'll be better than Dark Knight Rises. You never know. Okay, back to Season Pass.
Silver Bullet, yes, which was intense. I mean, I didn't realize how intense.
Inverted coasters.
I was worried about my shoes because I have just some, they're not laced shoes. They're just sort of Converse without the laces. You slip them on now.
Yeah.
I had my feet crossed holding on for dear life with my feet to my shoes to make sure they wouldn't fly off and hit somebody.
Yeah, he did. He literally was crossing his feet the whole time. It was quite elegant, actually.
They would have fallen off if I didn't do that, for sure. Yeah. They would have flipped right off.
The G-forces on that are pretty extreme.
Your feet you're facing straight up.
Yes, I know. It was,
So let's just say you're not a totally experienced roller coaster rider then.
I'm not an experienced roller coaster rider yet. Mr. Toad. That one is awesome and intense for me, but
which is funny because you're talking about the only dark ride for kids that you go to hell at the end.
Right. Yeah. I think is it the only ride? What's the only ride that has swearing in it? I think that may be
It is. Because
or is that no? It's Pinocchio.
It's Pinocchio.
Right.
Because they said don't make if you want to make an ass of yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Toad just goes guilty, and then you end up
in
hitting
hell.
a train and going to hell.
Yeah, you hit a train.
And then
you go to
General
hell.
Zod comes out and
Kneel before Zod.
But no, it was intense. I mean, and when you guys are like, yeah, you're gonna want to give them your stuff. Like, I'll hold on to my water. They're like,
No.
nah, you kind of don't want. I didn't realize
You're gonna hold on to your ad. I was like, nah.
I don't know how many times we go upside down. Like,
At least 5, maybe 6.
I think it's 6 times.
Yeah.
it's intense, but it's not just that. It's also you put me on the end, which was torture. You're like, oh yeah,
If you're gonna
sit
do
on
it,
the end, you know.
If you're gonna do it, right?
And then okay, the end. Maybe it's in the aisle. It's easier, like at a movie theater. It's not. So that's where the G-forces really hit. So
Yeah.
it was intense. Yeah, and Silver Bullet also named after a very popular beer that I like to drink.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Throw that
beer.
out there. I know it's no actual connection.
There's no Coors Light tie-in.
No, there isn't.
They
There
don't
isn't.
have
And I'll
a
still.
light version of the roller coaster?
No. It's only in one variety.
Yeah. By the way, if you guys are hearing a little bit of that sound, it is a little windy outside, so the mics are picking up on the wind quite a bit, actually. In fact, I'm going to have you guys just turn them just away from that direction just a little bit there. My
Is that
mic
better?
Not really.
We don't need a
Put our
wind
hands
shield,
up. How about
wind
that?
screen. We need a wind.
That really,
You're listening to
great
sounds of the haunted mansion. The Chinese water torture. What's going on? Let's go up to that old house on the hill. And so they entered the old house on the hill.
Okay. We're good. I might have to change out the batteries at some point, though. So
Wait, 12 hours?
just- yeah, this goes through them pretty quickly. So, all right. So anyway, Silver Bullet. It is intense. It's an inverted coaster for coaster nerds out there. If you look up Google, you'll see all the different coaster nerds describe what it is. But it's basically it's a coaster that hangs below the track. Your feet are hanging. And it takes you through all these loops and crazy G-force maneuvers. And by the end of it, if you aren't really prepared for it, you could be a little nauseated.
I was a little nauseated, but I think it's because we were eating earlier. I mean, it was definitely that ribs, and it was the cookie witch
Yeah,
that
the
put
cookie
me
witch.
away.
Yeah.
The giant cookie witch that I swear that thing could feed a family. It was huge.
Well, we went on some classic rides, right? The first ride we actually rode was the Timber Mountain Log Ride. Jeff, how old is that ride now?
I believe it opened in 1969.
69.
So it's up there.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
It's the very first enclosed flume ride
Yeah,
of its kind, like
themed
that.
the whole bit, right.
Yeah, themed the whole bit. What did you think of that ride?
I love rides like that because those kinds of log rides, the Splash Mountain, they're never too intense as in terms of a coaster.
Yeah.
There'll always be some sort of drop. But then it's also, especially in hot summer weather, it feels pretty good to get splashed.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great, and then also I love the little animatronic stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's just
well, they aren't actually animatronics. Those were more static.
Yeah.
static with some sound, but like the
Yeah.
wolves and stuff. And
Yeah.
So that's cool. But I love those kind of rides, especially the photos that you see at the end of yourself. And I mean, we can talk about this, but how do you police the people trying to take
There you
advantage
go.
of that? Those
Well, it's
photos?
the same policy they have because there's a website called Flash Mountain,
Yeah.
where people it's just those kind of pictures.
I was hoping that you would mention Flash Mountain.
There's a
Nothing to
slight
do with
delay.
Flash, the DC Comics character who can run very fast. We're talking about
That's right.
we're talking about girls and guys sometimes
Yeah.
lifting their tops and
Right. Beyond that, though, there's actually a whole team of people that go out and try to stage funny things. I've seen people in their pajamas eating cereal,
Playing Monopoly.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
there's a whole
awesome.
subculture of that. But most of that, the only way to get those pictures out is you got to know somebody that works there because they show up on a screen below the counter before
Right.
they show up on the screen above the counter.
Yeah.
So, like the FCC, there's a 7-second delay
Right.
before those pictures
Hey,
hit.
do you save those photos at all?
I'm not involved in that, so I wouldn't
No.
have any ideas.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Probably.
we'd have to have the people from Flash Mountain on the show.
That's right.
At some point, they should be guests.
we will work on that as a future guest, and I'm sure that we will have
That'd be a
plenty of
great-
hits.
That would be a great guest booking, actually, to get the Flash,
Flash Mountain
We're
people.
sitting here with the guys behind the Flash Mountain website. Guys,
Keep us abreast, folks, on all the goings on the
Very
Double Mountain.
nice. Oh.
So many good memories. So many good memories. It just goes on and on. But those, I just do love those also because, as you pointed out, Doug, when we got on, because they're four-seaters, but we went two-seat style because, we just met.
Yeah, we just met. I was like, I wasn't quite ready to sit on his lap.
It takes a couple of hours getting to know somebody
or a couple of
before
drinks,
you want to straddle them.
Jeff bought us dinner, which is kind of weird.
Hey, Russ did. I didn't even take credit for that. That was Russ.
But it is also a great, date ride. It's like, because they're not too intense. You never know what's going to get wet on the ride.
I've been lucky. I've never had anything too weird happen on a theme park ride. Although my former colleague, Kevin Pereira, actually was at a theme park, and he lost his iPhone. It just happened to fling out of his hands, and it landed it's sort of this area behind a fence. He could actually physically see his iPhone, but the security there would not let him get it because it was in the area that the roller coaster would go by. So he lost his iPhone. I've been lucky. Other than just getting wet on a Splash Mountain type ride, which I love those. I wish someone should make a coffee table book of Splash Mountain photos. There's got, of course, how could you put that together? But there is the website, of course. There's always the website. But that I always find a lot of fun. It's weird when I go to a theme park. I you've heard me tell a lot of stories, and I've done a lot of weird, crazy stuff in various arenas. But a theme park is I'm always on my best behavior, and I think it's the threat of I could get kicked out, and I just spent $100, $200 to be here. I don't want to do anything stupid. I'll say stupid things, but I've never done anything stupid at a theme park, but I do think it quite a bit. I do think about flashing my boobs. All right, back to Season Pass.
I feel like in keeping with our Simpsons theme, it's sort of what is the Knott's version of Poochie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Poochie was the hip hop rapping horrible dog that Homer Simpson voiced in the cartoon.
I can tell you what our Poochie was.
What's
called Windjammer?
Oh, God.
Windjammer.
Windjammer. It was over in that part of the park.
Where you could see Accelerator right over there right now.
It was a double racing looping coaster designed to mimic you were on a surfboard and you were zooming through. And
was it fun? I mean,
no. I rode it once. I'm not an expert. I'm sure the theme park guys, the roller coaster guys can really talk about it. But, that's hilarious.
Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome.
We're looking at the picture.
But I'll put that. I'll put
John just drew a picture of Homer Simpson. It looks like you could see his butt crack. He's sort of pointing his back up the ceiling on the log ride, and it says Homer's back scratcher.
That's right.
It's funny. You got to post a picture of that.
That is beautiful.
It really should be animated to be funny.
No. So the Windjammer was Poochie because it opened with a lot of fanfare. We had everybody over, and in the end, Flanders said that was the best episode of Itchy and Scritchy I've ever seen.
I feel like we all have our Poochie. What's your Poochie? Mine, I would say parachute pants. Parachute pants is my Poochie.
Well, I'll tell you, Chris, I had a really nice mullet going on the lake.
No. Your mullet was your Poochie.
I had a mullet down to here with a white Mad Max stripe going down the side. We don't need another hero.
At least it wasn't an Anakin Jedi braid. That would have been awful.
That's too stupid even. Right, no Padawan braid.
John, did you ever get a chance to ride the Simpsons ride over at Universal?
No.
Oh, okay.
You never got to do it. Simpsons ride was great.
That? I haven't been to Universal
for 3 years ago.
4 years ago, yeah.
Well, they keep changing that out. That's another one of those rides that they'll upgrade.
Yeah, it was Back to the Future.
It was the Back to the Future.
Now it's
Simpsons. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
So those are the only two that they've done there?
Yeah, that's it. It's just
Back to the Future was there for quite some time, and I think it was a long, hard decision to get rid of it. But then the Simpsons. I hope the Simpsons there for a long time.
Well, having ridden both the Back to the Future and the Simpsons one, the Back to the Future one towards the end, I kind of feel like it just. I don't know if the projection wasn't brilliant enough, or the equipment was out of date.
Yeah.
It just didn't seem bright enough to really sell the idea.
That's the Trumbles who did that, and it was all done practical with models and puppets. And I'm a huge fan of that ride. That was a stellar ride. it's one of those things. It just outlived its time.
Yeah.
It was time for it to go. I totally understand that.
I mean, there were their kids going to the parks now. I hate to say this, they don't know what Back to the Future is.
Blasphemy.
So I know it is.
Let's hope they don't reboot it with Justin Bieber, because I heard that rumor once. That would be an awful idea.
Well, what are your thoughts about them integrating the film industry with theme parks? It's been happening a lot more lately.
It's happening a lot more, and I think, first of all, it's weird because I feel like in some ways, we were talking about earlier, that I think screenwriters work those scenes in. And certainly like George Lucas, who's always been a person who's been obsessed with speed, his whole, like if you look at his early experimental films, oddly enough, they're all just leading up to Star Wars, whether it's like THX 1138 is all this weird button pushing and these motorcycles and just, sort of experiments in speed. He even did a mini documentary once on a race, a car race.
Well, he wanted to be a race car driver until he wrecked his car. And
right.
Thank God somebody said, George, go to film school.
Yeah, get behind a camera. But you look at so many sequences in the original Star Wars trilogy, the prequels, they're just made to I like to experience speed. It's a ride. It puts you in that seat, and there's that. So I feel like George Lucas, more than any filmmaker, kind of innovated that. And then you look at the mine ride in Indiana, Temple of Doom.
It's interesting though that I was 11 when Jedi came out. And it just seemed to me that the speeder bike chase was a ride. And it's ironic that of all the products that have come out, they've never made a speeder bike either simulator or ride through or
Right.
Well, the mine car ride from Temple of Doom would have been stellar too.
Yeah, but I love that connection of movies and rides because it's an extension of the experience. And some of these, you guys have seen the new Transformers, which I have not. Yeah. It's like an expansion beyond I'd really like to see more of this movie. Maybe the series is kind of run out of steam.
Right.
Let's, where else can you go? And a ride kind of, the Terminator ride kind of expanded upon that.
Yeah, Transformers, it's the perfect example of putting a newer movie into a ride. Because when you watch the Transformers movies, all you think is this could be a great ride because of all the fast-paced action and everything like that.
But what they want to do is, with giant movie franchises like that, they're not trying to duplicate something you've seen on the screen, but extend the story as a bridge and hey, you go check this out, and then we'll have another movie in a couple of years. And it's it's a permanent way to semi-permanent keep the brand going, right? And it's awesome, That's why I think you were going to bring up the Paris Indiana Jones ride is the mine car, even though it's not quite, but it's close. And if they had done the Temple of Doom mine car ride here at Disneyland, it would have been great. But the fact that they said, no, it's a new adventure with Indiana Jones, that's even better.
Exactly.
Even better.
Yeah. And you had a chance to go on Star Tours, the newest Star Tours.
Yes, the new Star Tours, which, because I listened to your Star Tours episode, I'm aware
and I listened to that you wrote it.
54 combinations, right?
Yeah, 54 combinations.
Possible combinations. So I only got to go on it once.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to hit the whole park. It was amazing. I love that. I love that kind of ride, and they didn't overdo the 3D. The 3D was just paid off right at the end.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love that also it wasn't boring to wait because there's so much distraction with droids doing this and this, and you walk by this and you hear different voices of characters, and the fact that those are on loops that you could be waiting in line 10 more times and you wouldn't catch it in the same spot.
Exactly.
And to me, the most impressive thing about the footprint of Star Tours is if you ever went on the Mighty Microscope, eventually Inner Space.
Yeah, Inner Space.
The fact that that's all they had to work with space-wise for that queue, that's astounding.
Exactly.
Because it's hardly anything. And if you see the Indiana Jones queue we were talking about earlier, or the Roger Rabbit queue, they go on for 6 weeks. You have to pack a lunch and a
Sherpa to take you through. Yeah.
But the Star Tours one, they didn't have. They have that extended queue now. But the actual main queue, it's not that long.
Yeah,
and they do move people through very quickly. They do a really good job.
Absolutely right. And the one of the things, and you can say that you are a strong Star Wars fan.
Huge Star Wars fan. Huge.
And one of the things that these rides are trying to do is somewhat capture the essence of those films. And
they did it. They did it. I mean, in a way that also didn't feel. It felt organic the way that they mixed the different worlds.
Yeah,
it was
the
really
different
about
trilogies.
Yeah, and the different trilogies too. Because I'm not as big a fan of the prequels.
Okay.
Really? I interviewed David Lynch, who was originally
David Lynch was was going to direct
Revenge of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So I interviewed Lynch about it, and he talked about that when he came to it, there was nothing for him to do. And his specific, meaning design-wise, I mean, David Lynch is he's a design geek. He likes to add a personal look to all of his films. And when he specifically was speaking to Lucas, it's like, these two races were going to team up and then topple the Empire, the Yuzums and the Ewoks. And he looked at which he kind of echoes that idea in Episode 1, right? With Naboo, with the Gungans and the Nabooans, yeah. So all he said to Lucas was, these Yuzums and this Ewoks, I said, you've got this tall race. I said, George, how am I supposed to shoot this? Like, their eye lines have to match. Like, I don't know if I can make it work. Like, he was just trying to be technical as a director. Yeah. So he just said, no, I'm going to go off and make Dune. So that turned out, which a whole other story.
Here's your glossary as you enter the theater.
Right, exactly.
Did you see Dune in the theater?
Yeah, no.
They gave you a glossary.
It's a good thing I'd read the books, and I was still disappointed that I thought it was...
Sting was...
I liked Dune.
Dune holds up as like a cult classic now.
I gotta admit,
fighters!
I gotta admit, I'm not a fan of Dune.
But here's what you do: is look at Dune right now.
Should have been a ride.
Go home and watch
Dune the ride would be great. Inside a sandworm. Oh my God! Think of it.
Go watch Dune now and realize no CGI. All practical effects, all set. They never do that now.
Yeah.
They all look like they're big black lines around it with no sets.
Right.
They get blasted to go into space and they just go, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Well, that's the problem with a lot of these big blockbusters. They just look like video games now because there's some sort of... This is why I like directors like Chris Nolan with The Dark Knight, the Batman.
Yeah. Nolan likes practical.
Practical, and also it's like he will only use digital if there's no other way to achieve it. Yeah. And secondly, usually it's just removal of things like wires that are for safety. So that works. I mean, practical, it's just, there's something about our brains, you look at it, you go, it doesn't feel real. Like the end of Attack of the Clones when they're fighting those digital monsters in that arena.
Yeah.
It just looks like they're on a soundstage. The way it's lit, there's something about not being in a real space.
If you're looking at the background and not what's going on with the characters, you've already lost the audience anyways.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting though? You're saying that practical seems to work better for film and such as that. And I'm tying this back into theme parks because that whole talk about new rides and these new rides based after film. And they're using that CG animation.
It works in theme parks.
It works in parks.
Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I think it works better in parks. I think that works.
Agreed.
We were just talking earlier about that.
We were talking earlier, like the Jurassic Park River Adventure. I mean, yes, you can't do giant robots fighting. It would have cost $1 billion because we talked about this a little with Bob Gurr.
Yeah.
But when that real live mechanical dinosaur head is coming at you, there is nothing scarier because if
it's
that
terrifying.
fell or those teeth came around me, it would eat me. I mean, that's a real thing. It's not
like the end of. Did you ever see Clifford?
I never saw
with
Clifford.
Martin Short. It ends with him on a dinosaur ride that's run amok.
That's right.
And the dinosaurs trying to get him, and it's the same thing you're talking about.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I mean, I think there's a visceral reality to that just is almost impossible to replicate. Now, again, for certain kinds of rides like Transformers, you have to do it that way.
And Star Tours also.
Yeah, Star Tours has to be digital.
I think it totally works.
And with the 3D, the new 3D, the Dolby 3D that they're using now, that's just flawless.
Right. But it all depends on your ride vehicle and whether it makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could do a river adventure that would be good enough
in a simulator.
A river adventure.
Like for Jurassic Park, you'd have to be in a Jeep.
Exactly.
So I think it works a lot on your ride vehicle.
Wait a minute. We have a drawing of Homer Simpson riding the smallest roller coaster in the world. I have to put this on the website. I gotta take this. This is fantastic, John. You rock.
The tooth chipper.
Keep hands inside. Keep hands inside.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. I will put that on the website. Put it on Facebook. We'll tweet it.
Krusty the Clown.
I'll tweet it, and I'll tag you on the tweet.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
But I'm curious. We were joking earlier about movies that do you guys? I'd love to hear some because it would be really funny to see sort of a low rent crawl ride. I don't know. I think it's a ride or the Black Hole was practically a ride, lent itself to a ride.
Let me just
this guy over here, the biggest Black Hole fan in the world.
Sickness.
Yes.
It felt like an old school Disney movie. It's sort of a 1950s Disney movie, even down to the haircuts and the mannerisms.
Absolutely.
It's so
this kid sleeps with an Ernest Borgnine doll.
Oh my God,
dude! Like
you raised him right.
Yeah, he's raising him.
Oh.
Yeah, Robert, tell me a little bit.
Yeah. Well, number one, back to the. Black Hole remake is coming.
So okay, yeah, they're going to reboot it like Tron.
They're going to reboot it like Tron, and I guarantee you, there's going to be a Black Hole ride. I'm just saying.
Please,
I guarantee you. And I mean, will it show up in Shanghai first? Maybe. I don't know. We'll just see.
I want a fully functional Maximilian to threaten me on the ride.
Now that's what all the Black Hole fanboys.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and if there's not a shot of a robot in hell at the end of this reboot, no deal. I mean, like,
right. They're never going to do that.
They're never going to do that, I know. But that's what makes the original such a psychotically weird movie. Now, I'll even forgive the giant meteor volleyball that bounces down the center of the ship and then pops out.
But it's all done practical with models.
It's all done practical,
But what about Bob? Don't forget Bob.
Slim Pickens as a robot? Come on.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, I know that Disney's always trying to look to bring back a franchise that wasn't very successful.
Because they don't have to pay any licensing.
Yeah, exactly.
They own it lock, stock,
so
and barrel,
I can see
man.
that they do. But if it ends up being successful, they have so many areas in there that they could definitely bring it, especially just in Disneyland alone. I mean, Captain EO isn't going to be returned forever,
Gotta go.
Interventions. Let's not talk about interventions.
That theater is ripe for a Condor Man experience. Get Michael Crawford to do it live, and I am all over it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we'll keep our eyes out for that. And if there's a media event, if there's ever a media event, Chris, you and I together, Black Hole attraction.
Or you want to go really low rent, Battle Beyond the Stars. That would be awesome.
We just
John
watched
Saxon.
Richard Thomas all the way.
Oh, no.
The only sci-fi movie where the spaceship has breasts.
Yes. I
breasts or
remember
are they
loving
balls?
that. The poster. I was obsessed with that poster. Now I know why. So that's it for this week's show. I really want to thank Doug Barnes, everyone from Knott, especially Jeff Tucker. Jeff Tucker, just super cool dude. You can follow the show at The Season Pass on Twitter. You can also like them on Facebook and just go to seasonpasspodcast.com. Doug Barnes and company, such a great group of people. It's so much fun that day. Although I did almost throw up after one ride. And then Jeff Tucker, you can also follow him at Knotts, Knotts. He runs that Twitter. It's occasionally very funny, which one would not think from a corporation, but it's a corporation that deals in riding people on big carts and then feeding them food. So there you go. That was actually the most fun I've ever had doing a podcast. Shocking, though, because, yes, it was done at a theme park. So how could it not be fun? Facebook.com/PodCRASH. Go to iTunes. Please give us a review. 5 stars if you think we deserve that on iTunes. I would actually really appreciate it. And check out our new YouTube channel. It's PodCRASH TV. Just look it up, PodCRASH TV on YouTube. And as I like to say every week, let's get out of here.
30 seconds and counting, Zed. 29, 28, 27, 24, 15, 22. Did I say 15?
Why don't you just start from 10 now?
So long, Zed.
So long now.
9, 11, 13, 14. 15, 12, 9, 14, 15, 16.
This is Sador of the Malmori. I command you to surrender.
I'll surrender, you sorry son of a mutant. 5, 4.
Fire to the converter access. It's going to blow. We're all going to die. That can't be. I'm going to live forever. I want to live forever.
did it. I can't believe it. You really did.
Hey, if you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You're the kind of person who stays through the end credits of a movie, which means you're a big movie geek, which means I also like you. For that, you shall be rewarded. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California, 90036. I will return your self-addressed stamped envelope with a surprise. And the first 5 people to @reply to @PodCRASH Show on Twitter and say, let's get out of here, will win a free DVD. But if you've won a free DVD already in the past, just don't try to win again. I mean, give some other people a chance, would you? Be nice. Later.